The Yankees Red Sox rivalry. The Yankees and Red Sox rivalry is one of the longest running and greatest rivalries in all of baseball. They first met in 1903 as the Boston Americans and New York Highlanders, with Boston winning their first game 6-2. This was originally a lopsided rivalry in Boston's favor, who dominated the early years of MLB, winning 5 World Series titles from 1903 to 1918. But when Boston sold superstar Babe Ruth to the Yankees in 1919, the feud was solidified. Boston wouldn't win a championship title for 86 years, the famous curse of the Bambino. Meanwhile, the Yankees continued to build a dynasty, winning 26 of their 27 World Series titles while Boston was in their drought. The rivalry intensified during the late 1990s and 2000s. The 2003 ALCS saw Aaron Boone's walk-off home run crush Boston's World Series dreams. In 2004, the rivalry continued to heat up, and when the Yankees were dominating the first 3 games of the ALCS, a brawl broke out between the Yankees' Alex Rodriguez and Boston's Jason Varitek. But this ALCS also brought the most dramatic reversal in baseball history. The Red Sox became the first team ever to win a 7-game series after being down 3-0, finally breaking their curse in the 2004 World Series. Throughout the rivalry, the Red Sox and Yankees have played each other 2,311 times, with the Yankees leading in wins at 1,257. Despite the Red Sox dominating the Yankees in early MLB, at one point having a 17-win streak against them from October 1911 to July 1912, the Yankees have dominated in recent years, with a 12-win streak against Boston from September 2019 to September 2020. Cubs and White Sox rivalry. Chicago's baseball rivalry has existed since 1906, making it one of the longest standing rivalries in baseball, intensified with the cultural and socio-economic divide of the north and south sides of the city. Their first head-to-head game in 1906 was also the first and only time they've played each other in a World Series, with the Sox winning the series 4-2. The rivalry intensified when interleague play began in 1997, with the Cubs and White Sox getting to regularly play each other for the first time. Things heated up when Sammy Sosa was traded from the White Sox to the Cubs in 1992, becoming a superstar during the 1998 home run chase, which led to White Sox fans feeling betrayed watching their former player achieve glory across town. The White Sox winning the World Series in 2005 while the Cubs continued to struggle caused tensions to rise further, and in 2006 it came to a head with the brawl between the Sox's A.J. Pierzynski and the Cubs' Michael Barrett. The Cubs finally broke their curse with their 2016 World Series win over the Cleveland Indians, but the Chicago rivalry remains tight. In 155 games against each other, the White Sox lead in wins at 78-77. But if you only include the regular season games, the Cubs are ahead at 75-74. Padres and Dodgers rivalry. The Padres and Dodgers have been rivals since they first met in 1969, where the Dodgers destroyed the Padres with a 14-0 victory. The Dodgers' consistent success in 7 World Series titles versus the Padres' championship drought creates natural friction between the Southern California neighbors. Recent years have intensified this rivalry significantly. Manny Machado's decision to sign with San Diego after a season with the Dodgers in 2018 sent shockwaves through both fan bases. The 2020 playoff meeting, the Padres' first postseason appearance since 2006, ended in disappointment as the Dodgers swept their way to an eventual World Series title. The rivalry gained national attention during the Padres' 2022 playoff run when they eliminated the heavily favored Dodgers in the NLDS. Fernando Tatis Jr.'s emergence as a superstar has given San Diego a face of the franchise player to match the Dodgers' collection of stars, setting up what promises to be a defining rivalry for the next decade. The Padres still have a long way to go though, with the Dodgers leading in every metric when versus their rival. The Dodgers are nearly 100 wins ahead in their 963 meetings, winning 530 games compared to the Padres' 432. They have the larger victory margin versus the Padres with a 19-0 win in 1969, and the Dodgers beat the Padres 16 times in a row from September 1973 to September 1974. If you enjoy these baseball explainer videos, consider leaving a like and subscribing. It really helps me out. Dodgers and Angels rivalry. The Dodgers and Angels first played each other when interleague play began in 1997, with the Dodgers winning 4-3. They've only played each other 155 times since then, with the Angels leading in wins at 78 versus the Dodgers 73. This rivalry lacks the intensity of others due to limited head-to-head meetings, but geographic proximity and overlapping fan territories creates natural tension. The rivalry's defining moment came in 2002 when the Angels won their only World Series while the Dodgers missed the playoffs. Angels fans relished their championship while their crosstown rivals struggled. But historically, the Dodgers have been consistently the stronger team, with 8 World Series titles and 25 NL pennants, compared to the Angels who have just 1 World Series title and 1 AL pennant. Phillies and Pirates rivalry. The Phillies and Pirates have been playing against each other since the late 1800s, before MLB as we know it even existed, and the rivalry continues to this day as the infamous Poop Series. The Phillies-Pirates rivalry flourished during decades of division competition, where both teams played in the NL East before the Pirates moved to NL Central in 1994. The rivalry peaked during the 1970s and 1980s when both teams contended for the NL East title regularly. Throughout the 70s, both the Phillies and Pirates were exclusively the NL East division champions, except for 1973 when the Mets won the pennant. The race was extremely tight to prove which team was better, with the Pirates winning a World Series title in 1979, which was immediately followed by a Phillies World Series win in 1980. Throughout MLB history, the Pirates and Phillies have played each other 2,327 times, with the Pirates leading in wins at 1,230 versus the Phillies 1,088. In recent years, however, the Phillies have proven to be a stronger team, winning 83 of their last 161 matchups. Realignment in 1994 moved Pittsburgh to the NL Central, significantly cooling this rivalry. Without regular division battles, the historic connection between these franchises has faded, though older fans remember when Pirates-Phillies games carried playoff implications and genuine animosity. Astros and Rangers rivalry. The Astros and Rangers rivalry is a relatively new one, with their first meeting being in just 2001, where the Astros won 5-4. The rivalry intensified dramatically when Houston moved from the National League to the American League West in 2013, where they've been playing each other 13 times per season since 2023. The rivalry reached its peak during the mid-2010s when both teams contended simultaneously. In 2015, it was a close race for the AL West, with the Astros leading the division by just 1.5 wins over the Rangers going into their pivotal series. The Rangers ended up winning 4-0, taking the AL West division title for 2015. The Astros would go on to win the 2017 World Series, the first among either team in the rivalry, followed by a second World Series title in 2022. The Rangers were right behind them though, winning the 2023 World Series. Since they started playing each other in 2001, the rivalry matchup is about as even as you can get. The Rangers have won 146 of their 290 games, putting them just 2 games ahead of the Astros. Recent controversies, including the Astros sign-stealing scandal, have added edge to this rivalry. Rangers fans particularly resented Houston's tainted 2017 championship, viewing it as a stolen success that diminished Texas baseball's reputation. Cardinals and Cubs rivalry. The Cardinals and Cubs rivalry is one of the most bitter in all of MLB, and it's endured since their first game they played each other in 1885 as the Browns and White Stockings. The rivalry is fueled by passionate fans and the close proximity to each other, combined with the fact that St. Louis has had a far more dominant MLB history than the Cubs, leading to this bitter rivalry. Smaller incidents led to resentment between fans of the teams, like the trade of Lou Brock from the Cubs to the Cardinals for Ernie Broglio, which is considered one of the most lopsided trades in all of MLB history. The rivalry's modern era began with the 1998 home run chase between the Cardinals' Mark McGwire and the Cubs' Sammy Sosa. McGwire and Sosa were in a tight race to see who could break the long-standing single-season home run record of 61 home runs. When the Cardinals and Cubs met in September of that year, the record was broken by Mark McGwire, hitting his 62nd home run of the season off Cubs pitcher Steve Traxel. The home run chase put both teams in the national spotlight, elevating the rivalry even further. Success disparity has long defined this matchup. St. Louis's 11 World Series championships dwarf Chicago's 3 titles. In all-time games in the matchup, however, the Cubs have the leading record, with 1,281 wins versus the Cardinals' 1,229 when head-to-head. Giants and Dodgers rivalry. The Dodgers-Giants rivalry is one of the longest standing in baseball, beginning all the way in 1889 when both teams were based in New York City. With both teams moving to California in 1958, the close proximity the teams maintained has kept the rivalry going. The rivalry's most infamous moment occurred August 22, 1965, when the Dodgers were playing the Giants in a late-season series with the pennant on the line. The game started off with tension as Maury Wills bunted a single off Giants pitcher Juan Marichal, which Marichal viewed as cheap. Marichal then threw a pitch directly towards Wills, leading to further retaliation from the Dodgers. When Marichal came up to bat in the 3rd inning, thinking catcher John Roseborough was intending to fight him, Marichal hit him twice in the head with his bat, leading to a 14-minute brawl. Throughout their rivalry, the Dodgers and Giants have played each other 2,594 times, with the Giants winning 1,286 games, just 4 wins over the Dodgers, with 17 draws. Some fans continue to take this rivalry so seriously that there have been multiple instances of violence between the two fan bases. The Phillies, Braves, Mets rivalry. The NL East three-way rivalry creates unique dynamics where alliances shift based on standings and circumstances. The Braves' 1990s dominance made them the common enemy, while recent years have seen the Phillies and Mets alternate between contention and rebuilding. The Braves and Mets rivalry intensified after the Braves moved to the NL East in 1994, leading to frequent and meaningful matchups. The Phillies and Mets rivalry has been characterized by periods of dominance and dramatic shifts in power, particularly in the late 2000s. In the early 2000s, the Phillies were more dominant, especially since the Mets collapsed in the 2007 season, where they failed to win the division after being up 7 games over the Phillies, giving them the NL East title. In recent years, the rivalry has intensified as both teams became more competitive, with the Mets winning the NL East title in 2015, eventually winning the NLCS but losing in the World Series. In 2022, the Phillies made it to the World Series while the Mets failed to make it past the Wild Card Series. And finally, in 2024, the Mets and Phillies met in the NLDS for the first time, with the Mets eventually winning the series 3-1. The Braves-Mets rivalry has historically favored the Braves, with the Mets losing the first NLCS to the Braves in 1969 and again losing it in 1999 after Kenny Rogers walked Andrew Jones for a walk-off walk. The rivalry was cooling off until 2022, as both teams were highly competitive. Going into their final series of the season, the Mets were leading the division with 98 wins, just 1 win ahead of the Braves. Atlanta swept the series 3-0, giving them the NL East division and forcing the Mets into the wild card spot. The most recent rivalry in this triangle is the Braves-Phillies, who in recent years have both shown more dominance. In 2023 and 2022, the Phillies eliminated the Braves from the playoffs after finishing the season with over 100 wins both times. With both teams having star players like Bryce Harper and Trey Turner on the Phillies and Ronald Acuna Jr. on the Braves, the rivalry could get even more intense as both teams continue to fight for dominance in the NL East. The Mets-Yankees rivalry. New York's baseball rivalry divides the city, with the Yankees' record 27 championships representing success, while the Mets embody the underdog role, winning just 2 World Series titles since 1962. The rivalry reached its apex during the 2000 World Series, the first Subway Series since 1956, when Roger Clemens' earlier beating of Mike Piazza created a personal vendetta, leading to a bench-clearing incident when Piazza broke his bat off a pitch from Clemens, leading to Clemens throwing a piece of the broken bat back at Piazza. The Yankees would go on to win the World Series 4-1, cementing their dominance while leaving Mets fans frustrated by another championship near miss. The rivalry's intensity fluctuates with both teams' competitive cycles, but the underlying dynamic remains constant. Yankees fans view the Mets as little brother competition, while Mets fans desperately seek opportunities to prove their franchise's legitimacy. The Mets' recent signing of former Yankees star Juan Soto has intensified the relationship, as many Yankees fans view it as a betrayal from a player just wanting a bigger paycheck. Orioles and Nationals rivalry. The Beltway series represents baseball's newest geographic rivalry, created when the Montreal Expos relocated to Washington, D.C. in 2005. The Orioles-Nationals rivalry exists mostly as circumstance, as the Orioles ownership opposed the team's move to D.C. as they felt it would encroach on the Orioles' protected market, hurting the team financially. The Nationals' rapid success, including their 2019 World Series championship, contrasts with Baltimore's recent struggles, adding competitive imbalance to geographic tension. The tension exists between both ownership and fans, and as of 2025, the teams have never agreed to a trade with each other. This rivalry's future depends on both teams' competitive success, as neither team has fielded highly competitive teams in the same season. Statistically, the Orioles lead in wins versus the Nationals with a record of 64-55, but the race is close, despite neither team being very competitive in the 2025 season. Blue Jays Expos rivalry. The Blue Jays Expos rivalry represented Canada's divided baseball loyalties. Limited interleague meetings prevented intense on-field rivalry, but cultural and linguistic differences created natural tension between Canada's only MLB franchises. MLB introduced the Pearson Cup to give the teams a chance to play each other from 1978 to 1986. The rivalry peaked during both teams' competitive eras. Toronto's back-to-back World Series championships in 1992 and 1993 coincided with Montreal's excellent teams that never reached the playoffs. The 1994 strike particularly devastated Montreal, as many believe the Expos had their best World Series chance that season. The Expos' relocation to Washington, D.C. in 2005 ended this rivalry permanently, leaving Toronto as Canada's sole MLB representative. The rivalry ultimately ended with the Blue Jays leading in wins over the Expos with a 24-19 record, playing only 43 games against each other before the move.